Namaste! Today we are going to watch Billy Connolly, Dwarf on a Bus. So we saw his video of terrorists at the Glasgow or terrorist attack at Glasgow airport. So it was a very fun way to describe it, and it was very hilarious because we actually didn't knew about the Glasgow attack in itself, but through him we got to know about it. But that video was a bit blurry, and the audio was also a bit hard to understand. But in this video, I think so it is a very well made video, and we can understand him much better. So this will be our first proper time seeing Billy Connolly. So let's watch.
And seriously, I do believe that this video is going to be very hilarious because, as we all know, that dwarf people have to face many problems because of their height. So if I am assuming that if the dwarf will be on the bus, then definitely he or she has to face many challenges, like maybe he was unable to sit properly, or maybe he was stand in the bus. So I am so much excited to watch this video and so much excited to see that what is the opinion of the Billy uh, on the dwarf on a bus. So yeah, let's watch the video.
Yes, and I think so more than sitting, it would be the standing. Like if all the people are standing, then he
Yeah.
would be like very struggling because he would be just coming to near all the people waist only. So let's see what is there in this video.
Oh, so anyway, my sister told me this,
What?
and she swears that it's true. And I hope it's true. And if I tell it right, you will hope it's true.
Okay.
My sister is a retired school teacher,
Okay.
and she supplies herself to people who don't have teachers. She's a supply teacher.
Okay.
When somebody is sick or dead, she'll supply herself. and a lot of her friends do this as well. And her friend told her this story. And when she told me the story, I thought I would pee myself.
Huh?
I was in New York where I live, and she phoned me, and I fell on my phone's next to my bed. I fell onto my bed. You know that way you laugh, your legs won't work right. And I told my wife, I said, Flo just told me the funniest story. I'm going to tell my audience this. It's about a dwarf. And she said, oh, you can't, Billy. You can't do that. I said, why? She says, because you can't say dwarf. I said, why the fuck not? I'll be talking about a dwarf. Surely you can say dwarf when it's a dwarf you're talking about.
Yeah.
She says, they're little people.
That is also demeaning.
I said, but little people and dwarfs. There's a difference between a little person and a dwarf. One of them's a fucking dwarf. And they both know which one it fucking is. Don't give me that shite. So I decided to tell it. Her friend was going to supply herself to a school somewhere. And she got on a Glasgow bus. Oh, please be true. And she sat down, and it just happened to be the last seat.
Okay.
And the bus took off and trundled off into the day. 4 or 5 stops later, the bus stops, and a wee dwarf woman comes on.
Okay.
Okay.
I've now compounded the felony by calling her a wee dwarf. She wasn't a particularly small dwarf.
Okay.
She was just a dwarf-sized dwarf.
Okay.
I'll probably get all sorts of complaints now. Dear Mr. Connolly, I saw your otherwise excellent show. What a pity you descended to the dwarf story. I, personally, am a member of the Tall Dwarf Society.
Tall dwarf.
I'm 6'4". I'm proud to call myself a dwarf. I also do impersonations of chocolate biscuits, if you're ever stuck. Anyway, the wee woman got on the bus, the wee dwarf woman, and discovered there's no seat, and so hung on to whatever was nearest,
Okay.
the seat to the pole or whatever, and the bus took off. There was a wee schoolgirl in a school uniform sitting over here, probably urged along by her mother, give the woman your seat, give that woman your seat. She went over to the wee dwarf woman and she said, excuse me, would you like to have my seat? Whereupon the wee dwarf woman flew into a rage and said, oh aye, because I'm a dwarf. You're offering me a seat simply because I'm a dwarf. Well, I have managed my whole life as a dwarf. It's not a problem to me. Keep your seat.
She was showing some courtesy.
Girl, cringing with embarrassment, went back to her seat, and the bus trundled on in silent embarrassment for a stop or three. Then, oh, please be true,
What happened?
a big Glasgow woman was getting off the bus.
Okay.
And before she went up to the door, she went over to the wee dwarf woman. She said, I'm getting off the bus and I'm leaving my empty seat here. Because I'm a dwarf, you said, no, not because you're a dwarf, because you're another human being.
Oh,
I
wow.
happen to be leaving the bus. My seat is vacant. I'm merely pointing it out to you that it exists. As a matter of fact, I thought you were extremely rude to that wee girl and you owe her an apology. As a matter of fact, I hope when you go home tonight, Snow White kicks your ass.
Oh. Snow White kicks your ass.
Wow, what a video it was. Seriously, this video was so hilarious. And firstly, he started telling us the story about that dwarf woman, and literally we have to say that that dwarf woman was so rude, because the girl who offered her the first girl who offered her the seat, she was so the dwarf woman was so rude to her. She said that just because I'm a dwarf, and the girl just said, she doesn't said anything, she just sat on her seat. And when that another woman come and she said that go and sit on my seat, I am going somewhere. And she was like, that woman was like, just because I'm dwarf. And she was like, no, just because you are human being. So I really like that line, and yes, I really enjoyed this stand up. And I have to say that he is a good storyteller. The way he was saying the story, I really like it, and most importantly, I understand everything. So yeah, I really enjoy this.
Yes, and I can relate to like what it would be like to hear this for the first time from someone that okay, like I expect that Snow White will kick your ass. And like we all know that story of Snow White and the little dwarf.
Yeah.
And so that was a very interesting thing from that woman to say, because that was a very big woman, and the way she called her was even more funny, like tapping on the head, and she was like
Yeah.
and knocking onto her. And then because she was not courteous at all, because I think that she might have been like taunted by a lot of people because of her dwarfness. So she was so anti people, like she used to think like everybody is pointing fingers at me, and she used to like always tell people like do this, do that. But then this happened, and like people were being courteous to her and she couldn't take it. But this was a very interesting way to frame everything, and it was very fun to watch. How did you guys find it? Do let us know in the comment section below. So do like, share, and
Subscribe.
bye.